Okay, this lesson is a continuation of solving word problems, and the difference is these problems will have two unknowns instead of one. When there are two unknowns, you're going to be looking for a comparison. For example, if I said that one dog weighed 5 pounds more than the other. Let me give them names. Duke weighs 5 pounds more than Bear. If I did that, there are two unknown quantities in that. Now, I would have to give you some more information, ask you a question, but all I want to focus on for just a minute is the comparison. All right, these are both unknown. I don't know what either dog weighs, but which one do I know the absolute least about? Duke weighs 5 pounds more than Bear. I hope you're answering that you know nothing whatsoever about Bear's weight. So I would let X equal Bear. I could say Bear's weight, but just Bear is fine. How would I write Duke's weight? How is it compared to Bear? Duke weighs 5 pounds more. He's heavier. I could express his weight as X plus 5 would be Duke. Okay, so there's one example of a comparison. That's all I'm talking about right now is the comparison. What if instead I said Terry is 2 years older than Lisa? There's two names. I'm comparing two people's ages. Of those two, which one have I told you nothing about? Hopefully you're moving to the end of the sentence and say, I don't know anything about Lisa. So X could equal Lisa's age. How would you express Terry's? Well, if she's 2 years older, her age is more, she would be X plus 2. Let's look at another comparison. I'm just making these up. Let's suppose that I said John is 4 inches shorter than Sean. And I said, okay, whose height do you know nothing about? Once again, you would move to the end of the sentence and say, I don't know anything about Sean. Okay, now you know something about John. His height is 4 inches shorter than Sean's. It's shorter. It's less than. So his is going to be X minus 4 will be John. All right, let's look at one more. What if I said Betty has 3 times as many children as Sue? Then I said, okay, Betty and Sue have kids. Whose number of children do you know nothing about? Well, you know Betty has 3 times as many as Sue, but you don't know anything about Sue. So X would be the number of children Sue has. And you can write a lot or you can just write a name. All right, how would you express the number that Betty has? She has 3 times that many. Hopefully you would say that's 3X. So in each one of these, I've done a comparison. Now, you're going to have more information than this. What if you had enough information to find out that Bear weighed 6 pounds? How much would Duke weigh? Well, if Bear was 6, then Duke would be x plus 5, which is 6 plus 5. He would be 11 pounds. What if you found out that Lisa was 30? How old would Terry be? Well, Terry is x plus 2. She's 30 plus 2. She's 32. What if you found out that Sean, and I'm just going to put this in inches, what if I said that Sean was 64 inches tall, which would be 6'4"? I'm sorry, he would be only 5'4". Let's make it, yeah, that's fine. He'll be a little guy. He'll be 5'4". And how tall would John be? Well, he'd be shorter. He'd be x minus 4. He'd be 64 minus 4. He would be exactly 60 inches, which would be 5 feet. All right, Betty and Sue and their kids. What if you found out that Sue had 2 children? If x was 2. Well, Betty is 3x. She's 3 times 2, or 6. She would have a house full. All right, so you're going to do a couple of things in these. We're going to compare, come up with 2 unknown expressions, write an equation, which we haven't practiced in this little part, and then we're going to find both answers. Let's take a look. I hope these are not too small for you to read. All right, the first one. A bird of species A, when diving, can travel 4 times as fast as a bird of species B, top speed. If the total speeds of these 2 birds is 175 miles per hour, find the fastest speed of the bird of species A and the fastest speed of bird of species B. I may have gotten tongue-tied on that one. All right, but they're 2 unknowns, bird from A and bird from B. All right, let's look for a comparison. A bird of A, when diving, can travel 4 times as fast as a bird of B. That's my comparison. All right, which one do you know nothing about? A is 4 times as fast as B. So I'm going to let X be speed of, and I'm just going to call it B. Well, what do you know about A? He's 4 times as fast. How could you express that? 4x. Now that's what we practiced, the comparison. You know nothing about this one, so it's x. This one's 4 times as fast, so I'm going to call it 4x. Now, the part that we haven't practiced is coming next. If the total speeds for these 2 birds is 175 miles per hour, that is my equation. Total means add. So x plus 4x equals a total of 175. So bird of species B plus bird of species A, their speeds added up equal 175. And now I'm going to solve it. Can I simplify on the left? Yes, I can combine like terms and get 5x is 175. I don't have x's on both sides. Looking over here, I don't have a constant. I'm going to divide by 5, and x is equal to 35. What did I just find? X is 35. X is the speed of a bird of species B. How do I find the speed of a bird of species A? Well, it's 4 times as much. This is what I did at the very end of each one of these. So I'm going to look for 4x. Well, x is 35, so it's 4 times 35, which is 20, carry the 2, 140. And that will be the speed of A. That's quite a bit faster. Okay, so one of the answers, and you're going to have to put them in the right place. The fastest speed of a bird of species B is, I'm going to answer 35. of A, you're going to answer 140. Write your unknowns as a comparison. Write the equation. Solve for X. Find the other unknown as well. You're going to have an answer for each of those if the question asks for both. All right, let's look at this next one. A video game system and several games are sold for $548. That looks like my total. The cost of the games is 3 times as much as the cost of the system. The cost of the games is 3 times as much as the cost of the system. That's my comparison. Which one do I know nothing about? Cost of the games is 3 times as much as the systems. I don't know anything about the system. But what do I know about the games? They cost 3 times that much. So 3x is the game's cost. So the one I know nothing about is x, then the other one is compared to it. All right, total x plus 3x is 548. I'm going to simplify on the left. That'll give me 4x is 548. I might grab my calculator. And I will get, dividing by 4, x is 137. That is x. And I look up here and I see that's the system cost. How am I going to figure out the cost of the games? Well, the games are 3x. 3x means 3 times x. It's 3 times what I just got, 137. Which is 411. So I have $137 for the system and $411 for the games, and I would answer those in the correct spot. All right, let's look at number 3. State A contains the largest state population of Native Americans. This population is 3 times the Native American population of State B. There's the comparison. A is 3 times the population of B. If the total of these two populations is 248,000, find the Native American population in each of these 2 states. All right, which one do I know nothing about? A is has 3 times the population of B. So I don't know anything about State B. State A has 3 times as much. 3 times as much would be 3x. That will be State A. Their total is 248,000. X is, the total, x plus 3x is 248, and we just get to tack the idea or the word thousand on there. We don't have to actually add the 3 zeros because that's what they've done in the answer choices. So I'm going to solve that. Combine like terms on the left. 4x is 248. 4 is my coefficient, so I'm going to divide by 4. X is equal to, that's going to be 62. And it will be 62,000, but I don't have to write that. So what is that? X is for State B, so this will be 62. Now I need State A. State A is 3x. 3x means 3 times x, means 3 times 62, which is 186, and once again, it is 1,000. Okay, I hope you're beginning to see similarities between all of these, no matter what the questions are concerned with. All right, last one. It says Anthony Tedesco sold his used mountain bike and accessories for $308. That looks like a total. If he received 6 times as much money for the bike as he did for the accessories, find out how much he received for the bike. Okay, I see the comparison. I've highlighted it in yellow. He got 6 times as much for the bike as he did for the accessories. That means I'm going to let X be cost of accessories. And 6X will be the cost of the bike. The total amount of money he got, total means add, so X plus 6X is 308. And I'm going to solve this. Simplify by combining like terms on the left. I have 7X is 308. I don't have variables on both sides. Looking over here, I don't have a constant. I have merely a coefficient. I'm going to divide both sides by it. I have 308 divided by 7, and I get X is 44. Now, what did I just find? X is the accessories. The bike is 6X, so it's 6 times 44, which is 264. Now, this is the only problem that's like this. It says he received blank dollars for the bike. It doesn't want both. All it wants is the $264 that he got for the bike. This is an important reading skill. If you have a job and your boss asks you about total sales for the 3rd week in September, he doesn't want to know what the sales were for the 1st week in January. So you have to answer the question that's been asked. Okay, now you go to the lesson and try your word problems.